Hello and welcome back to Stress Unplugged. I'm Dr. Ramprakash and today we are going to explore something that doesn't get talked about enough. How stress affects our relationships. Whether it's our partner, family, friends or colleagues, stress has a way of creeping into our interactions with others, often without us realizing it. It can turn small issues into a big argument and create distance between people who care about each other. Rohit and Sneha have been together for 5 years. Recently, both of them has been under a lot of stress. Sneha's job has been demanding and Rohit has been dealing with family issues. As a result, their communication has started to break down. What used to be a simple conversation now feels like arguments. They are both frustrated and instead of talking things through, they have started avoiding serious discussions altogether. Sounds familiar? Stress can turn even the strongest relationships into battlegrounds if it's not managed. So let's break down how stress strains relationships and more importantly, what you can do about it. One of the first casualties of stress is communication. When we are stressed, our brain goes into a survival mode, which makes it harder to think clearly and listen actively. We become more reactive and less patient. For Rohit and Sneha, this meant that every little disagreement felt like a personal attack. Instead of listening to each other's concern, they were more focused on defending themselves or just trying to avoid another argument. Stress puts us in a state where we are more likely to misunderstand each other or jump to conclusions. Suddenly, a simple question like, "How was your day?" might be answered with a sharp, "Why do you care?" when it's really not about the question at all, it's about the built up tension. Another way stress impacts relationships is by creating empathy gaps. When we are overwhelmed by our own stress, it becomes harder to step into someone else's shoes. Sneha felt overwhelmed by her workload, so when Rohit brought up his family issues, she didn't have the emotional bandwidth to support him the way she normally would. This led to Rohit feeling like she didn't care, which wasn't true, but stress made it harder for Sneha to be presented for him. The same thing happens in friendship, families, and even at work. Stress makes us more focused on our own challenges and we become less tuned into the needs and feelings of others. Here is something else that's interesting. Stress is contagious. When someone around you is stressed, you can actually observe their stress. It's called emotional contagion. Think about a time when a friend or coworker were visibly stressed. Chances are you started feeling anxious too, even if you don't know why. For Rohit and Sneha, this meant that one person's bad day often turned into both of them feeling stressed and irritable. Rohit would come home from a tough day with his family, and even though Sneha wasn't involved, she could feel his stress. This created a cycle where their stress kept feeding off each other, making things worse. So, how do we stop stress from damaging our relationships? It starts with awareness and intention. Here are a few practical steps to help. Number 1. Recognize the sign. Pay close attention to when stress is making you more irritable or withdrawn. If you catch it early, you can prevent a small annoyance from turning into a full-blown argument. Number 2. Communicate openly. This can be tough, especially when you're already stressed, but it's important to express how you're feeling. Tell the people close to you, "Hey, I'm feeling really stressed right now and it's affecting how I am reacting. Can we talk about it?" Number 3. Take a pause. When you feel stress building up in a conversation, take a step back. You don't have to solve everything right away. It's okay to say, "Let's take a break and come back to this when we are calmer." Number 4. Practice empathy. Even when you are stressed, try to remember that the other person may be struggling too. Ask yourself, how might they be feeling? This small shift can make a big difference in how you respond. Number 5. Support each other. Sometimes just acknowledging each other's stress can help. For Rohit and Sneha, it was a game changer when they started checking in with each other at the end of the day. Something as simple as asking, "What's been stressing you out today?" And really listening can go a long way. Stress in relationships is often an invisible strain, but it doesn't have to tear you apart. By recognizing the signs, communicating openly, and practicing empathy, you can prevent stress from driving a wedge between you and the people you care about. That's it for today's episode of Stress Unplugged. In our next episode, we'll dive into our practical strategies for managing stress. We'll talk about how to use tools like mindfulness, exercise, and time management to keep stress in check so it doesn't take over your life or your relationships. See you next time on the next episode of Stress Unplugged.